With all the latest headlines now this Bank Holiday Monday, it's the ITV News.
Good afternoon, I'm Sangeeta, Kandola. Ukrainian civilians who escaped the horrors of the besieged steelworks in Mariupol are expected to reach relative safety this afternoon. They're being taken to Zaporizhia after a ceasefire yesterday allowed around 100 to be evacuated, but many more remain trapped. Factual reports.
Until now, there was no escape and little chance of rescue. Finally, a brief ceasefire allowing these civilians, around 100 in total, to board buses to safety, overseen by the United Nations and the Red Cross. They'd emerged from sprawling tunnels from a network of underground shelters and bunkers, where they'd been hiding for weeks with little food or water. Men, women and children being helped to cross a bombed-out wasteland. Many had not seen sunlight for months. He is 2 months old, his mother says, a child who had so far spent his entire short life hiding from bombs. But hundreds are reported to be still stuck inside the steelworks alongside Ukrainian fighters. The deputy commander of the Azov regiment, speaking from inside the plant, said they were hearing the voices of people stuck underneath the rubble of destroyed buildings inside the works, and they needed specialist equipment to save them. Meanwhile, the Russian military claimed it had hit 38 military targets in Ukraine, including weapons depots and command posts. While unverified footage from the Ukrainian military appears to show its drone destroying 2 Russian ships on patrol in the Black Sea, Russia is yet to respond to the claim. But it has released video claiming to show convoys of buses evacuating people from the Azov-style steelworks who were taken to Russian-controlled areas, saying anyone wishing to leave to Ukrainian-held areas were passed to the UN. It's unclear whether people were given a choice of where to go. Sejal Karia, ITV News.
Well, Rebecca Barry is in Lviv in western Ukraine. Rebecca, some positive news there, but what hope for those people still in Mariupol?
Well, the truth is, we just don't know. It's thought hundreds of civilians remained trapped underground at that steel plant, and according to Ukrainian sources, the shelling continued after yesterday's evacuation. That operation took weeks of difficult negotiations. President Zelensky revealing that there were countless phone calls, meetings and proposals until finally yesterday, for the first time, a ceasefire that allowed those first 100 women and children to get out. Previously, there have been many failed attempts. Many times we've told that a safe corridor would be set up, and each time it failed to materialise. So those images that were released yesterday evening really were so powerful. Those elderly women and children taking their first steps out into daylight after so many weeks hiding underground. So while this has been, of course, a very positive development with the first evacuees due to arrive in Zaporizhia today, it is very much hoped that the operation can continue to get the rest of them out safely.
OK, Rebecca, thank you very much. Here, Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer has called for greater international cooperation to tackle the migrant crisis. More than 250 people crossed the Channel in small boats yesterday, with more doing so today. Well, our political correspondent Libby Vina is here with me now. Libby, this comes just days after a new policy to send asylum seekers to Rwanda became law.
Yes, well, the Home Secretary, Priti Patel, had promoted that policy, saying that it would act as a deterrent to would-be refugees. And some Conservatives had claimed the fact there had only been there had actually been no crossings in the 11 days after Easter was evidence that the policy was actually working. Others suggested that, in fact, it was the weather, high winds and strong spring tides. And that seems to have been the case, because the weather has calmed down and the crossings have started again. As you say, 250 people arriving in small boats in the last 24 hours. Now, Keir Starmer suggests that the criminal gangs are responsible and there does need to be more international cooperation to crack down on them, and more cooperation with France. The Home Office has only said that the rise in crossings is unacceptable. No comment on whether the policy of deterring people coming is actually working. And I think it was already very controversial, the Home Secretary staking her reputation on it working. And I think if more crossings do materialise, I think this could be very difficult for her.
OK, Libby, thank you very much. A record-breaking 2.7 million people were referred for cancer checks over the last year. That's according to new figures from NHS England. Referrals for suspected cancer are around 16% higher than pre-pandemic levels. Charities have welcomed the increase in referrals but warned of the devastating impact the pandemic has had on care. The first day of the Eid al-Fitr festival begins today, marking the end of the month of Ramadan. It's the first time celebrations have been able to go ahead as normal since the start of the pandemic 2 years ago. And new photos of Princess Charlotte have been released to mark her 7th birthday today. The images show the princess sitting among bluebells and hugging her pet cocker spaniel, Orla. The pictures were taken in Norfolk this weekend by her mum, Kate, the Duchess of Cambridge. Finally, New Zealand has reopened its borders to welcome arrivals from more than 50 countries for the first time in over 2 years. There were emotional reunions as people touched down in Auckland. After one of the longest lockdowns, people from countries including Britain and the US can now visit without quarantine if they're vaccinated and have had a negative COVID test. And that is all for now. Lucy Watson is here with the evening news at 6 o'clock. The news where you are follows the national weather. Bye-bye.